turtley, not enough for the turtle club. What the fuck ever. I don't even fucking care. I'm done.
Now, to solve the mystery,
It is time for you to find your mother and your father.
this simple waiter must become much more.
Now I can teach you to become a master of disguise.
Really? I'm going to be a master of disguise. I'm going to be a master of disguise. I'm going to be a...
This summer,
Your training begins now.
Dana Carvey
I am Prince Lalejama.
Suave, Terry Suave. Are you a member of the Turtle Club?
Am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club? I'm going to my show.
No, no, no.
Where'd he go?
the master of disguise.
Now, before we talk about this movie, and yes, it is a Happy Madison movie. It's them doing what they do best. Adam Sandler throwing a bone to one of his fellow SNL brethren, in this case, Dana Carvey. Before we even talk about the movie, let's actually talk about Dana Carvey, because it sucks because despite not being a leading man in a lot of movies, he actually was pretty funny. A lot like other comedians who I've talked about before, like it reminds me a lot of the Nick Swartzen effect. Nick Swartzen had a lot of like comedy specials on Comedy Central. He had a TV show that was very shortly lived. And it's like, well, it's not great, but it's funny. And I feel like, in a very similar vein, Dana Carvey is kind of like that. He was pretty funny as Garth in Wayne's World, and that was based on an SNL skit. And he had some pretty good reoccurring characters. Church Lady, he was George H.W. Bush. That was like one of the things everyone used to reference. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty funny. Sooner or later, maybe he'll get his own movie to star in. Well, that apparently did happen in 2002 with this movie. And I would say this is just Happy Madison's fault. Maybe Happy Madison writers didn't give him some good material, but apparently he was one of the writers on this movie, and it's like, shit. Pistachio Disguisey, played by Dana Carvey, a genial waiter at his father Fabrizio, played by James Brolin's, Italian restaurant, possesses an uncanny knack for mimicry. What he doesn't know is that his talent is genetic, and he is a descendant in the long line of Masters of Disguise, all of whom inherit the secret family gift known as Energico. Initially, Pistachio is a klutz, but little by little, he learns to harness his inherited power and sallies forth to utilize Energico to its fullest. So the bulk of this movie was filmed in 2001, and it was released in 2002, around the same year that Austin Powers 3 came out. If not, I think it came out like a week or so after that movie was released, and it just, I don't know what it is. I don't want to say that there was a lot of like jealousy going on. Maybe there was. I don't know the full story. Like I remember hearing like some interview or a podcast or something that was going down like SNL history, and I think there was like a brief period in time where Mike Myers and Dana Carvey were angry at each other over something. Like apparently Dana Carvey thought that Mike Myers stole his voice for Dr. Evil or something, or didn't give him credit. Some stupid shit like that. But this movie in a way kind of feels like a knockoff Austin Powers movie, because it's very much a like spy espionage type film, except the main character is not some suave James Bond type, but instead is, you know, some goober with a funny voice and a funny look. Except, and say what you want about the Austin Powers movies, they definitely have some problems, but they at least have a good setup. You know, it's like, okay, it's a James Bond type movie, and James Bond was very popular in the 60s, so instead of making him, you know, this like suave, dashing type, you turn him into this like stereotypical Cockney, British 60s Beatles type character, and it's like, oh, that's kind of funny. But that's the problem, right? I mean, even compared to the last movie we talked about on the show, which was Nutty Professor 2, it's like, those guys, you know, Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, they had several strings of popular movies throughout their careers before they eventually hit a brick wall and they disappeared for a long time in a bunker somewhere. But Dana Carvey didn't really have that. He was big in Wayne's World, and he probably had some other bit parts and stuff, but he never really had a movie where he was the main guy. And I feel like I said, this movie was trying to test the waters of that, and oh my god, talk about failure to launch. So the plot is about the Disguisey family. This is an Italian family that is apparently really good at disguising themselves and making people believe that they're actually other people. They have a thing called Energico, which gives them the ability to like masterfully blend in and disguise themselves, whether it be through voice impressions or, you know, their facial makeup or whatever. They apparently have this kind of special ability, and they say that this family has been important throughout history. They apparently were the ones that inspired environmentalism, and the most jarring, they apparently substituted for Lincoln. This even results in a cutaway scene which looks like a failed SNL skit where Dana Carvey is dressed up like Lincoln and dancing to I Like to Move It, Move It. Just before Madagascar tried to bring that song back, this song was apparently very popular around the time they made this movie. So we flash forward, and of course our main character is played by Dana Carvey, and he plays Pistachio Disguisey. And even though Dana Carvey's actually really good at doing voices, instead of giving him like pretty regular sounding Italian voice, this is a Happy Madison movie where the characters have to look funny and sound funny, or at worst, both. And we get worst of both worlds. He does the Super Mario Italian accent. He does the funny arm flailing. He's the Italians. Yeah. And he has like a coconut head wig, and he has like these big goofy glasses, and he's apparently really good at doing voices. And he demonstrates this several times in the beginning while he's working in his parents' pasta shop. And one of the voices he even does is Shrek, as this girlfriend who turns out, shock of shocks, is cheating on him because she thinks that he's annoying. In a quote that I'm more than positive probably ended up in several written reviews for this thing, she says, "Oh, Pistachio, the voices were funny for 2 seconds and then you got annoying really quickly." Also, I recognize that actress from something, and I looked her up, and it's like, oh, she was the mom in Wizards of Waverly Place, and she was also the voice of like the popular girl in Danny Phantom. At least she went on to be in better things. But the plot gets going when his parents get kidnapped by Brent Spiner, Data from Star Trek, and he's this evil guy who has them doing his dirty work, and he has them running around different places disguised as various famous celebrity cameos. Cameos including Bo Derek, Michael Johnson, I think, like some Olympic runner, Jesse Ventura, and Jessica Simpson. Just as a reminder that this came out in the 2000s when some of those people really hit their peak, and then 2 years later nobody remembered them. So Pistachio doesn't know what to do, and then along comes his grandfather in a reference to The Exorcist for some reason. The scene where the guy gets out of the car and they're doing the Exorcist music, the dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. That was weird. I don't know why they made that reference. It's like funny because reference. I didn't know Seltzerberg were ghostwriting this. Grandpa tells him the backstory about the family, that they're connected to a lot of important moments in history, and they have the Energico, and they have the ability to disguise themselves as anybody they want. He just needs to harness his potential. He also reveals that they have like some secret underground lair, which set design-wise was impressive. I mean, the director of this movie directed a TV show pilot, and I think that was it. This is like the only movie he's ever directed. And then I looked into his IMDb. He was the set designer for other Happy Madison movies, and I'm like, well, that makes a lot of sense. Because the set looks cool. I mean, it looks like it could be in another, like, family action-adventure movie. Like, it looks like something you'd see in, like, Spy Kids or some shit. So Grandpa decides to teach him in the ways of the Energico. They get a montage of them trying out a bunch of different outfits, and we see various attempts at Dana Carvey to try and play characters. It's not very funny. One of them is he does an Indian, and he does brown face.
I'm going to call him Buttercup. So cute.
But then Grandpa says that he needs an assistant because every master of disguise in their family has had an assistant. So they do another montage of them trying to find an assistant. And this is just weird. The joke is like, these people don't even do anything. It's just like people standing there and they go, no, fail, sucks, next. And it's just like, they're not even doing anything. One guy even says that, and it's like, what's the joke? Like, they're just saying no, despite these people not doing anything. Like, the way to do that kind of scene is you have it that they're doing some kind of really impressive thing and it didn't meet some kind of ridiculous standard, and that's why they say no. That's where the joke comes from. It's funny because, oh, they didn't meet some kind of ridiculously high standard despite doing something very impressive, like spinning plates on sticks or something. But no, none of that. It's sad. I recognize they did that exact same fucking bit in another Happy Madison movie, Strange Wilderness, for anyone that remembers that. They did the same shit there.
Want the job? Thank you.
Next applicant!
No, thank you. Maybe you can offer the job to a crazy person. You'll have better luck.
Next!
You're off the chart nuts. You're insane. And rude.
But since this is a Happy Madison movie, they have to have it that the main character, man-child, ends up with some ridiculously hot woman. And in this case, he ends up with Jennifer Esposito. And maybe this is a nitpick, but I noticed that, okay, she's Jennifer Esposito, and her character's name is Jennifer. I'm willing to believe that they just did that because they didn't feel bothered to actually come up with a name for her. But apparently she meets all their qualifications for a good assistant, and the one thing they say that she needs to work on is that she needs to have a bigger ass. Because apparently in the Disguisey family, men love woman's ass that reminds them of their mother. The next day, they establish that Jennifer Esposito has a boyfriend, and I mean, the beginning of the movie, they establish that she has like a kid with her, but yeah, she has this boyfriend who's a dick. He's treating the kid badly. He's mean to Pistachio. This is to set up that he's eventually going to get slapped by Pistachio, because during the montage where they were training, they established that one of the things that the Pistachio family do is they have the slap, where you smack someone and say, "Who's your daddy?" It's like they were trying to make this movie filled with so many quotes and catchphrases that you just sooner or later have to quote at least one of them. So now she's his assistant, they go looking for clues, and they come across a cigar that was from the Turtles Club. And this results in the most popular scene in the movie. It was all over the advertisements, all over the trailers. It's like the one thing people still quote about this movie. You got Dana Carvey with like a bald cap, and he has like this like lip prosthetic that like he looks like a bald version of Mitch McConnell. He's basically a human turtle, and he's doing like a Kermit the Frog voice, and he's going like, "Turtle, I'm a turtle, turtle." That's it. That's all he does.
But am I not turtly enough for the Turtle Club?
Is he okay?
He's fine.
He's fine, Turtle. Turtle.
There's also a part where he gets into a fight with some guys, and he bites some dude's nose off, but it's like perfectly blank, and then he spits the nose back and it goes like lands perfectly on center. That was weird. Like, it's like the movie just turned into like The Mask all of a sudden. It's like, what the shit?
Where'd he go?
Then you get to another big problem with this movie. Not only is the pacing bad, because there's constant just like dead spots where it's like a scene just kind of stops, but the way it's edited too, they'll have a scene where it just like, it ends. It doesn't like transition well. They'll usually rely on like Birdemic-esque crossfades from the end of a scene where it's like, oh, that's the joke, and then it just, next thing's happening, I guess. Okay. And there's a lot of that in this movie. This is also a very, very bizarre piece of information, but this scene was filmed on September 11th, 2001. And they apparently took a moment of silence. Finding that out made that scene 10 times more uncomfortable. In the Turtle Club scene, they end up finding the guy that had the cigar, and he said that he sold them to Brent Spiner. So this results in them finding out that Brent Spiner is holding a couple various events in different areas. One of them is a toy show, which I will talk about in a second when we get to the end of the movie. But they say that he's holding a toy show, and he's hosting some kind of like fancy dinner get-together thing. And so this is an excuse for various different characters to come in. So they go to the dinner, and Dana Carvey is dressed up as Gammy Num Nums or something. It's like kind of like Church Lady, but not.
Oh, well, you're a tall drink of water, and I just love moisture.
He's trying to seduce Brett Spiner, but he's too busy focusing on Jennifer Esposito. So while that's going on, there's a pointless reference to Jaws where he's dressed up like Quint for some reason. I don't know what that was about.
Hey, did you see a dark-haired guy run by here?
Dark-haired guy run by, Chief. Dark-haired guy go in the water. Shark in the water.
There's also a part where he's dressed up as Mr. Peru, which is basically just him doing Tony Montana. And it's like the accent, the impression's pretty spot on. It is very similar to Al Pacino in Scarface, but I don't get it. It just, a lot of this movie feels like ad-lib. It's the like problem you see in a bunch of these kind of like SNL or Happy Madison driven comedies where a lot of it's just like, okay, yeah, funny people, we'll just leave the camera rolling and we'll just use the best takes in editing. Just go off and do whatever you want. And so a lot of it is just like Dana Carvey doing, you know, this Tony Montana impression. Hey, say hello to my little friend.
You got a little tomato soup with a crouton?
No.
You got some Neapolitan ice cream, you know, you got the vanilla chocolate strawberry.
He gets discovered by some of Brent Spiner's boys, and then he disguises himself as a piece of cow shit, which one of them steps in. And then there's like this, like, there's another montage of them chasing him all around the city, and it's like a parody of like that Beatles music video where they're all running around and then they dress up like different people and oh, the girls caught them, now they have to like keep running. It's like there are so many fucking montages in this movie, it's ridiculous. He gets back to the party, this time disguised as like a German guy, but it's like, this is a nitpick, but like it feels like his accent's a mixture of German and British. He shows up as a German tax collector who's looking for Jennifer Esposito. They buy it hook, line, and sinker. They let him in. And then when he gets to their room, because Brent Spiner is trying to like seduce Jennifer Esposito, he shows up as like this Tony Suave, that's the voice, and he has like slick back hair, a pencil mustache, like, you know, very fancy looking suit. And this,
I think it's time for you to go.
This is what you're doing. This is what I want you to do.
Did you just tell me to shut up?
Yes.
like, that's kind of funny, but the fact that you put it all over the ads probably made it not funny to people. End up getting out of there, and they're on a date, and they find out that Jennifer Esposito's boyfriend is cheating on her with Pistachio's ex-girlfriend. This is where he gets to do the slap, and she just miraculously falls in love with him right then and there. So now that they're in a relationship, obviously Brent Spiner and his boys decide they're going to try and kidnap her as a way to try and lure him out so they can take him out that way. And of course, there's a moment where Pistachio feels bad, but he's talking with a bubble hologram of his grandpa and the son of Jennifer Esposito. They convince him to go do it, and he gets into Brent Spiner's lair disguised as a cherry pie. And also, Kevin Nealon has an obligatory SNL people cameo. He gives the guards the slip. He ends up coming across his parents, and Brent Spiner has like this mind control candy that's making his mother not remember who she is, but then when she stops eating them, she remembers who she is all of a sudden. And his plan is he is going to glue a lifelike mask onto his dad, played by James Brolin of all people. Yeah, James Brolin was in this fucking movie. And his plan is that he's going to put a lifelike mask of him onto James Brolin so that he'll take the fall and he can get away scot-free with all the money, because he was having them steal a bunch of famous artifacts all around the world, and he's gonna like try and sell it and then make off with the money somewhere. There's a fight scene between a bunch of ninjas and Dana Carvey. This was going to be a different fight scene, but again, we'll get to that when we get to the credits. So they explain that with the Energico, apparently, if you have like a mask put on you, you start to believe that you actually are that person. It really is like the mask all of a sudden for some reason. I don't know. And so James Brolin believes that he actually is Brent Spiner, starts fighting his son, but then his son convinces him, no, Papa, it's me, look, and he puts underwear on his head because that was a thing they referenced at the beginning of the movie that he did when he was a kid, and that snaps James Brolin out of it. And oh no, evil Data from Star Trek got away with the money. And then we see a couple months later, he's now holding some kind of fancy poolside party, and they managed to get into his party with Dana Carvey dressing up as George W. Bush, because of course, and his grandpa and his dad are disguised as like bodyguards. And then he reveals that it's really him, and they punch Brent Spiner. He ends up falling in the pool. And then we get a payoff for this horribly unfunny joke that was going on all throughout the movie, where Brent Spiner does an evil villain maniacal laugh and then farts. They do it so many times in this fucking movie. And the big payoff is they punch him, he goes into the pool, they go, is he dead? Is he alive? And then you see bubbles come out of the pool. Ha! Oh! The movie doesn't end there. There is still 15 minutes left in the movie. And so then they pad out the credits with outtakes, B-roll, lots of bonus footage, And then they just start showing like straight up deleted scenes. And one of those deleted scenes was that other event that they were going to, which was like a toy show. And there was actually like a kind of funny character that was in there where it's like Dana Carvey has like kind of like a fat suit on and he has like a top hat and he's talking kind of like the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. Like, oh, such a giant yo-yo. It's like, all right, I mean, it's not that funny, but I would have been at least curious to see what it would have looked like in the rest of the movie, not just shown as a random deleted scene. Another deleted scene was, instead of the fight scene with Dana Carvey and the ninjas, it was going to be him against a bunch of big booty girls because the disguisey men are so distracted by big asses. And he says something like, you know, true love is thicker than your behinds or something. And it's just like, I'm willing to bet they cut that because they're like, shit, that's too much like Austin Powers. Remember the first Austin Powers with all the fembots, you know, the sexy lady robots and lingerie and shit? I feel like they did that because they're like, oh no, we can't do that. That's too much like Austin Powers. It's kind of like, you know, bonus footage shit during the credits goes on forever. It takes up the majority of the runtime from that point. And like, one, you wish it would end, and two, it's just like, I haven't seen that kind of shit where they keep dragging out bonus footage in between credits since like Shark Exorcist. It's frustrating. Is this the worst Happy Madison movie? Well, I've seen lazier. I mean, Just Go With It was pretty much just an excuse for Adam Sandler to take a trip to Hawaii with his friends, and then they made a 2-hour waste of time with that movie. But this is like, it's slightly more annoying than Zookeeper. Zookeeper just kind of felt like blasé in a lot of spots. It's like, okay, Kevin James just being Kevin James, and then they just add a bunch of SNL people doing funny voices over animals, and Nick Nolte was a gorilla in it. And then he ends up with Rosario Dawson, which again, just like with Jennifer Esposito in this movie, how is it that these goofball main characters end up with hot chicks that are out of like almost everyone's league? What the fuck is that? And then Bucky Larson. I would say Bucky Larson was more annoying just because, I don't know, that one looked like a straight-to-video movie that somehow went to theaters. This movie, there was a lot of backing behind it, especially with the marketing. This movie was marketed all to hell. They even brought out Dana Carvey to the Kids' Choice Awards in the fucking Turtle Man costume, and he took a picture with Spider-Man of all people. Let that shit sink in. This was a real thing. Biggest problem with this movie is that it just falls into the same trappings you see with other Happy Madison SNL people movies. It's that, like, it feels like they don't have a lot to work with. And yeah, there's a few that work. I mean, shit, Dana Carvey was in another SNL movie with Mike Myers. It was Wayne's World. But Wayne's World is like one of the best comedies ever. And it's like, this is just another failed SNL Happy Madison collaboration. And it's just like, and I feel bad for knocking on it because it's like, Dana Carvey can be funny. He can do some funny characters. Like, some of those voices probably could have been really funny SNL skits, but it just feels like a really lame-ass way to try and work it into the main plot. It's like, oh, well, Dana Carvey's good at doing voices, so we'll make a movie where he's like this espionage goober character, and his thing is that he disguises himself or some shit. Who cares? We're Happy Madison, and who gives a damn? It's probably not the worst movie I've ever sat through. I've seen worse, obviously. I think I was more mad at Shark Exorcist, but, God, this... Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, unless you're going to watch it just for the Turtle Club scene, because apparently that's the thing everyone loves to quote from this movie. That or the Terry Suave thing. Other than that, you can watch those on YouTube. You don't really need to watch a full movie just for those. So that does it for the Blockbuster videos we're doing this month. I'm probably going to be doing 2 videos for Blockbusters next month. We'll see what kind of crap we get to look at then. Hopefully they're not more crappy comedies, because we've been on a roll with bad comedies for Blockbusters for a while. So if anything, let's watch bad horror movies or something. We'll see what we have to do next month. But yeah, hopefully they're not bad comedies, because after watching Nutty Professor 2 and this, we're probably going to be taking a break from the bad comedies for at least a while on this show. So yeah, that does it for this month's Blockbuster videos. I'm Adam Sykes, and we will see you guys in the next video.